Oh boy, it's time for yet another Sans AU video. You know, at some point I'm gonna have to end this series because this has been going on for more than 2 years. But I don't really know when I'm gonna shelf the series, maybe around part 14 or 15, but that's just speculation at this point. Oh well, I'll leave that decision up to a future Custopia, but for now it's time to go over some of your guys' Sans AUs. Now I do have to apologize to some of you because a handful of the submissions I got were sent all the way back in August. I honestly feel pretty bad, but with the large amount of submissions I get, I tend to miss a couple. Also, there's a few people who didn't give me a username to credit them under, which I don't really blame them for, since these submissions were before I specified that I needed usernames. Like before, if you aren't credited or haven't given me a link to a social media platform that I can credit you under, just shoot me an email with a given link and I'll add it to the video description. Anyways, I'll put my email up on screen right now, and I'll also put it in the comments just in case you guys forget. Anyways, I don't really need a long introduction for these videos. I talk about Sanses across the multiverse, going over their backstories, designs, personalities, and powers. You probably already know the drill, so without further ado, let's get started. After we go over today's featured pieces of fan art, I know I already posted them in my community tab, but we've got some amazing fan art of Sanstopia created by Yugo Art and peblothethird. Each of these pieces are incredibly unique, with Yugo's close-up and full-body renditions of Sanstopia and Peblo's amazing pixel art and marketable plushie version of him. Also, he did this amazing pixel art of Kathy from Undertale Accessibility, a project you should definitely check out. There's also another amazing piece of fan art created by Akuma, who decided to create fan art of 5 different characters within my Undertale OC video, alongside their own interpretation of Sanstopia, giving him not only the classic Hawaiian shirt, but the yellow necktie and feathers of Daibo, the character in my channel icon. It makes so much sense, and I honestly wish I thought of that stuff earlier. Their art of the other OCs is also just amazing. I love how much of a menace Fortitudo looks like. Anyways, these 3 artists did some incredible work, and if you want to send me your own fan art, my email will be on screen right now. I appreciate you 3, and now let's get back to talking about skeletons. Migo, or Saiga Sans, also known as Saigatail BAU Sans, or even the Star Cannibal, is a Sans variant that was created in Timeline 1 billion, which was codenamed Timeline R. Timeline R was destroyed during the Saiga event, an event that was caused by an incomplete, unmonitored AU known as Hygatail becoming unstable, resulting in random and unpredictable anomalies appearing all over the universe at random. Anything could happen at any time with infinite possibilities. Before this happened in Timeline R, however, Saiga Sans was forced to deal with a human known as Player 92, who seemed to do everything in their timeline at random. They'd sometimes do a pacifist run and kill someone halfway through, or kill everyone in the underground and only spare the Vulcans. No matter what it was, every single day the human would reset. In fact, it's speculated that Timeline 1 billion got its name from the number of times the human reset being 1 billion. In order to stop the human once and for all, Saiga Sans started hijacking the human's save points and destroying them in order to permanently end the human's life once and for all. Although he was successful in hijacking the save points and stopping the player, these hijackings resulted in Timeline R destabilizing, releasing a strong amount of negative emotion throughout the timeline, and trapping Sans inside these save points. It also attracted the unpredictability and chaos of the Hygatail universe's Saiga event, causing it to corrupt and destroy Saiga Sans' timeline. While stuck inside these save points, the negative emotion caused by the hijacking ended up corrupting his soul and code. It wasn't until the Hygatail universe was taken over by an entity known as Hebikura Gaster, who ended up restoring and completing Hygatail and transforming it into Saigatail, that Sans was finally freed from his save point prison, with Hebikura using his powers to unseal him. Although he was able to stabilize Sans, the negative emotion had been in his system for far too long, with said negativity allowing him to see the pain and suffering of everyone the human had killed across the infinite spanning timelines. This pain made him realize that he was just part of one big game, with the deaths of all his friends and the people he held close to him just being part of the spectacle. This caused him to join Hebikura's cause, with Hebikura Gaster's goal being to obtain true free will. The key to obtaining this free will seemed to come from the Saigatail universe, where the impossible is an everyday occurrence. Hebikura took Sans with him to the Saigatail universe, and in order to help him with his poor condition, he created the Cyclone Armor, a set of power armor that was supposed to make up for Sans' withered and decayed body. The suit was combined with an upgraded form of determination called Super Determination, and after wearing the suit, the Super Determination within it caused him to grow in size massively and transformed his soul into something new, with this transformation causing the corruption that came from the negative emotion to be cleansed, alongside causing the suit to transform with his body. It's speculated that the intense anger and the determination to save everyone that was stewing in him for so long gave Saiga Sans the power to reform his soul, giving it the name the Cyclone Soul. Day by day, Saiga Sans trains with his Cyclone Soul and the super determination in his body in order to achieve a level of power that can allow him to break free from the riders and save everyone. And when he's not training, he hunts the various powerful anomalies across Saigatale and protects the universe as much as possible. I'd honestly like to cover more of Saiga Sans' story, but there's honestly way too much for me to cover in this video. I still got over a dozen more Sanses to talk about, but if you want to read about Saiga Sans and the Saigatale universe itself, check out the Google Docs I've linked in the description. Anyway, Saiga Sans dons a massive set of gold, red, and black power armor with glowing red eyes and teeth. He's also got several red discs floating around him, which could either be the physical representation of the super determination in his body, or it could be his suit's suppression system to prevent him from using his full power. Saiga Sans stands at over 270 centimeters tall, or around 8'8", weighing over 780,000 tons due to his power armor, and he's got a large assortment of powers as well, like turning himself into a hologram, laser blades in his forearms, a full power mode in his power armor after removing his limiters, a massive blade powered with super determination, a gaster blaster variant known as Pendanium blasters that are powered by, of course, super determination, a super powered Pendanium blaster called the Maga Super Blaster, which is a blaster that's merged with the drill wielding magma entity known as Maga, bone manipulation, lightning and fire manipulation, and he's also quite flexible. He also has a body double known as Skydriver Saiga or Mecha Saiga, just in case the original body is destroyed. When it comes to actual stats, Saiga doesn't have any. In a good way. He's at the point in power where he isn't bound by Undertale's laws, so all of his stats would appear to be null. Despite all the stuff Saiga's been through, he's a lot happier than Classic Sans and tries his hardest to keep high spirits. Which is honestly impressive because the guy was tortured for an incredibly long time and realized his entire existence was used as entertainment for higher beings. Overall, a very amazing character who you all should check out. Also, check out the creator on Instagram. He wanted me to tell you guys that he's doing art commissions, and he also has a Discord server he wants you all to join. So if you want to join, reach out to him on Instagram. Anyway, Saiga Sans is a very interesting character, and in my opinion, an OP Sans AU done right. Error Negative 404 Sans is an alternate version of Error 404 and is complete opposite in every single way. It says Error 404 likes chocolate chip cookies, while Error Negative 404 likes oatmeal raisin. Probably. He was created after Error 404 reverted out of his butterfly form, and instead of the 404 mainframe, he has the negative 404 mainframe. Something that's really cool about him is that he's unable to stay within reality for a long period of time, only being able to stay around for about a week, with anything after that causing him critical damage. In order to replenish his energy, he has to retreat back into his negative mainframe for a little over 2.5 days before he's back to full power. Negative has black bones, a black coat with blue fur, a glowing blue eye with glowing windows surrounding his body and his right eye, with said windows melting when he's at low health. Within his hidden eye, he sometimes stores his soul for protection, using the windows around his face as a shield. He can also manipulate blue glitch particles as blades, throwing them like knives and wielding a blue glitch sword. When he's injured, blue goop seeps from his wounds, slowly regenerating his injuries. Overall, a very cool Sans AU, and although I think he's got a cool design and powers, all I can think about is the fact that he's literally just Wario to Error 404's Mario. Or I guess a cooler example would just be like Shadow the Hedgehog to Sonic or something. I don't know. Overall, still very cool. Scorned Sans is a Sans variant that comes from a timeline of Undertale where the underground was caught in a massive fire. The author says that it was the result of a deep betrayal that shattered the trust and peace of their world, and from that excerpt, I believe either Asgore messed up big time or the humans just started firebombing the underground. Either or would be believable. When Snowdin was set ablaze, Sans was caught in the midst of the inferno, but instead of killing him, the fire fused into his bones, and after rising from the ashes, he took on the name Scorned Sans to remind himself of what happened to him and his fellow monsters. Scorned dons a black hoodie, a gray neck sweater, a cracked skull, and a glowing orange eye. Within combat, Scorned can shoot fireballs, stomp his feet to create a ring of fire, a Gaster Blaster infused with fire, throw fire bones, set his fists on fire, teleport with fire, and has magic chains known as the Chains of Scorn, which are chains engulfed in flames that were formed from the anger and sorrow of his situation. These flames are able to damage people over time and bind them in one place, and as someone who's been watching a lot of Hunter x Hunter recently, I really like this ability. Despite being burned to a crisp, Scornflame tries his best to keep his sense of humor, using fire as a punchline for his jokes. But despite his jokes, he misses the friends he lost from the fire. He also uses violence as a last resort, despite being a lot more powerful, wishing to use his abilities to protect the few people left. Some more fun facts about Scornflame Sans. Despite hating the cold, his favorite food is surprisingly ice cream, which is the only cold thing that he likes. He likes to prank his friends using his fire powers harmlessly, and in his free time, he likes to stargaze, as it reminded him of the time before the Inferno took everything he loved. Hellunder Sans is a Sans variant that comes from a universe where the underground is separated into 4 different layers of hell. In this universe, Sans is an angel from the overworld and was sent to investigate the underworld. After going undercover and traveling across all 4 layers, he's saved from the intense heat by Papyrus. It's then that he made the decision to stay within the underworld to try to help the denizens escape. During his time in the underworld, he ended up collaborating and starting a relationship with Alphys. And if anyone's mad about Alphys and Sans having a relationship, she's canonically bisexual, so I personally don't have an issue with it. Anyways, after meeting with King Asgore, he forces Sans into becoming his bodyguard, threatening to kill Alphys if he doesn't. Asgore also ordered Sans to kill any angel that appears in the king's throne room, and wanting to free the monster race, Sans was forced to turn on his fellow angels in order not to blow his cover. Hellunder Sans has a cracked face with no pupils, a pink jacket, a gray undershirt with a star in the middle, black shorts with a white stripe, and cyan slippers. Hellunder, much like his original counterpart, is very laid back and likes puns, with him being the embodiment of the sloth sin. In combat, Hellunder fights with an all-seeing eye Gaster Blaster, gold angelic spears, and a soul manipulation move that pulls his enemies towards him. Some more fun facts about Hellunder Sans. His favorite song is The Other Side of Paradise by Glass Animals. He loves barbecue sauce, his favorite food is ribs, he can only be killed by hell-based weapons within hell like any other angel, and his birthday is in June. Overall, a very interesting Sans variant whose motivations I really like. He's connected with the underworld's populace, and in order to save them, he has to hide his angel identity and battle his own kind. Very cool. Emerald Sans is a Sans variant that comes from a universe where the 7 human wizards who sealed the monsters in the underground wanted to preserve their knowledge of magic and history to their future children and beyond. They ended up doing this by creating 7 distinct gemstones powered by soul energy that gave whoever obtained them the knowledge of whichever wizard the gemstone belonged to. The 7 humans hid away their gemstones to be found later by their apprentices, but the kindness wizard accidentally lost their emerald gemstone within Mount Evet, with it landing in Snowdin and being found by Sans. After Sans picked up the gemstone, he saw glimpses of his brother being killed by a human. Realizing that he might need this emerald's power, he lodges it into his eye socket and gains the power to access menus and healing items. This Sans looks like regular classic Sans, but with a green undershirt, a green gemstone eye, cracks around the socket from where he lodged the gem into, and a glowing hand. Emerald Sans has the power to move around the battle box, attack you more within the menu, use the Act and Mercy button, and heal himself. Although he did gain some upgrades, he lost the ability to use telekinesis in any other direction other than down. Within combat, after Sans gets too tired to dodge, he ends up just healing himself every time he gets hit, making the fight go on longer until he runs out of heals. As for his personality, he's just like regular classic Sans, but a bit cockier due to his upgrades. Overall, a very cool non-OP Sans AU. We need some more of these. Brokentale Sans is a Sans variant that comes from a universe where Frisk is caught in several resets, with Frisk not knowing why they were occurring, and in a desperate attempt to free themselves from these countless loops, they ended up going through a genocide run, as with all else failing, they thought it was the only way. When they got to the fight with Sans, Frisk realizes that Kara was the one manipulating the resets, resulting in the two fighting for control. As they struggled against one another, they ended up splitting into 2, with Frisk and Kara both having their own physical forms, and before anything else could happen, Sans knocks the 2 humans out. Despite almost being killed by the humans, he takes them to Asgore and Flowey in order to heal them. With the help of Gaster's magic, the trio begin to slowly remove the hatred and pain from the two humans, which stem from Kara's anger and rage at seeing her brother being killed by the humans. While this Sans seems to be like classic Sans in design, he has resentment towards the human for the deaths they cause and is connected spiritually with his dead brother and Gaster. Overall, I like the concept of Frisk going through a genocide run out of desperation instead of maliciousness. Very neat. Killer God Sans is the most powerful Sans AU that took 5 minutes to create. The author's words, not mine. They have 99,999 attack and 999,999 defense. You wanna know how many takes that took? Anyways, he's got 3 phases, each with over 43 pages of detail that I will not be going into. Killer God Sans is certainly a Sans AU. Billie is this very jolly looking Sans variant whose most notable feature is that he has no nose. He's got a gray zipped up jacket, black pants, and what I assume is just his bare feet. He's also got a massive smile on his face, which is very pleasant. Billie, like Sans, is very witty and enjoys making puns, but he's also a bit self-deprecating and sarcastic, and I would be too if I had no nose. Despite his sarcastic attitude, he cares a lot for the people in his life. He fights with a type of Gaster blaster called YOLO blasters, bones, a time stop ability, teleportation, and a bad time mode that turns his eye red and increases his attack by 4. Real impressive, I know. He's got 5 HP, 1 attack, and 3 defense. Also, when he's alone, he can break the 4th wall. As for Billie's insane and intricate backstory, he doesn't have one. Yup, this guy deserves an actual story. And a nose. Shadow Sans is a Sans variant that's been there since the creation of the very first Sans, being the shadow of every single thing in existence. Due to his omniscient shadow powers, he's able to listen to everything and anything across every single Undertale AU. He's the leader of a group known as Team Dark, who consist of shadow variants of every single being across every AU, with these shadow variants being people who were turned into shadows by Sans after he defeated them. He and his army of shadow beings reside in the Shadow Void, which I can only assume is nothing but inky blackness for miles. Shadow Sans has Shadow Gaster Blasters, the power of the blue and orange soul, blue and orange bones, green magic, and AU teleportation. He can manipulate shadows, he's immune to physical attacks, he can fire shadow bones that are invisible to the naked eye, steal people's abilities, and a lot more. It's also said that it's impossible for him to have his own AU due to him being present everywhere all the time. Everything about Shadow Sans is black except for the fur on his jacket, his slippers, his eyes and teeth, and the lines on his pants, with those being a glowing white. Overall, a really cool Sans AU with really good art. Relaxtale Sans is a Sans variant that could definitely be in the competition of the weakest Sans AU of all time. In the Relaxtale universe, no human and monster war ever occurred, with Sans working as a barista at his own coffee shop. Despite knowing about other universes, Relaxtale Sans isn't worried about any looming threats, as all conflicts are solved through debates. He has 0 attack and 0 defense, with his strongest fighting ability being that he serves his opponent decaf instead of regular coffee. Relaxtale Sans has blue pants, pink slippers, a brown tunic, black gloves, and an eye patch that he wears because of some intense bullying. So much for peaceful debates. Overall, I like Sans variants that aren't super duper OP, and I think it's funny that his strongest attack is to serve people decaf. Also, in this universe, Kara is racist towards monsters, and I don't know how I feel about that. Error 0000 or Zero Sans is a Sans variant that comes from the Extreme Tale universe, a world where Undertale's difficulty is pumped up to the max. In this world, the player managed to kill Flowey and reach level 20 without much difficulty. Even though they already hit level 20 however, they still battle against Sans, and because they are level 20, Kara awakens and watches the battle take place. After the player manages to put Sans on the back foot, Kara decides to aid Sans, slashing the player across the chest and defeating them. After the player's defeat, Kara gives Sans the player's soul. After this, Sans is powered up by the soul, using it and the legendary artifact to power up a time machine in his garage to go back in time and fix everything. But before he can do anything with it, the game gets uninstalled, erasing everything. Despite this erasure, Extreme Sans managed to recreate himself, with a series of events eventually leading him to the Anti-Void, where he meets Error Sans, who gives him the name Zero. The two would eventually fight, with Zero trying to prevent Error from destroying the Doodle Sphere, which contained all the different Undertale AUs. With sheer luck, Zero manages to overpower Error, but not before being killed by Error Sans' strings. But don't worry, he comes back. Zero has a red and blue jacket, with the blue portion of it being glitchy, cyan slippers, blue eyes with red and white pupils, with the red coming from his determination, and the word error on top of both of his eyes. His jacket fur is also black, and he has a red plus and a blue X on his cheeks. He also has a black diamond necklace, but I'm not really sure what it does. Within combat, Zero can touch something to glitch it out of reality, with that ability being able to combine with his other attacks, meaning that his bones and gaster blasters are also capable of removing things from reality. He can create AU portals, absorb people's love, time blasters that can potentially erase time, heal himself with nearby code, and can resist fate. He also has the power to imagine an AU as a piece of paper to help make it easier to destroy, but it sounds more like a mental ability than a real one. Overall, a very cool Sans AU, and although he is OP, I adore his design. It's really sick. Firefell Sans is another Sans variant that revolves around fire. He resides in the Firefell universe, a world where Papyrus ended up becoming king of the underground. Things were peaceful until a human fell into the underground and set fire to Snowdin alongside killing Papyrus. After going on a rampage, the human left the underground, leaving Sans and the surviving monsters to grieve. Sans was forced to stay smiling in order to keep the survivors of Snowdin happy, and from the Inferno, he gained the ability to combine his regular attacks with fire. Firefell has red bones, a red hoodie, a black and yellow jacket, red slippers, and pink socks. He also has that iconic gold tooth that's a staple of Undertale Sans' design. He's also 5'10 and 10 pounds, so he might be taller than me, but at least he isn't heavier. That's actually not really a good thing. Overall, a really cool concept, but it is weird that two different creators thought of two different Sans AUs that were based around lighting Sans ablaze. Oh well, it's not like there are that many fire-based Sans AUs. Flamnium Sans is a Sans variant that's been lit on fire. But seriously, he comes from an AU known as Relaxtale. In this universe, before vanishing, Gaster was the royal scientist, with Sans being his trusty assistant. The two would work on Experiment Flare, which was a fire crystal that was found in space, but after getting nowhere with Flare, it was labeled as a failed experiment by Gaster and was locked away. It wasn't until the year 2034 that Sans got a call from Alfisk, asking him to guard her lab while she meets with Asgore. As Sans guards her lab, he realizes that the entrance to the true lab is open, prompting him to go in, where he sees the fire crystal glowing and resonating with an unknown substance. But if this is Alfisk's true lab, I'm going to assume it's determination. Anyways, Sans ends up getting too close, resulting in the fire crystal shooting forward and lodging itself into the top right of his skull, infusing with his body. This fusion caused the weather across the underground to heat up significantly, turning Snowdin into a desert and Waterfall into a steam hole, which ended up causing a massive drought, killing a massive number of monsters. This prompted Asgore to send his most powerful warriors on a manhunt, or monster hunt, to find out whoever caused this disaster. Not wanting to be caught, Sans dons a top hat known as the Void Hat, which was a gift from Gaster before he vanished, allowing him to conceal the gemstone lodged into his skull. I mean, it's still not that good of a cover-up. People are gonna question why Sans decided to just one day start wearing a top hat. Anyways, he goes to Toriel, asking her to train him in the art of fire magic, which she agrees to, and after a year, he masters it. After his training is complete, he creates a fire scythe for Toriel as a thank you gift for her tutelage. But when he goes to the ruins, he realizes that Toriel's been dead for years, with the person training him being a hallucination. After stumbling upon this revelation, Flamnium Sans decides to keep the scythe as a memoir and goes into hiding. Flamnium dons a top hat to hide the crystal lodged into his head, a fire scythe, and glowing orange and yellow eyes. He also has 3 phases. Overall, a very cool fire-based Sans AU. I like that we have 3 different fire-based Sans AUs, and all 3 end up with Sans going through a massive tragedy. Don't play with fire, kids. RPG Arc Sans is a Sans variant that lives in a universe where monster kind has been freed from the underground for 15 years thanks to Frisk, creating a city known as Anarchria. It isn't until 3 human children by the names of Ataro, Jamie, and Raph arrive at the city that Sans starts to notice something unusual. These 3 children seem to already know what's about to happen before it occurs, with their expressions showing signs of prior knowledge when faced with various situations, causing Sans to believe that they're anomalies. The 3 children journey across Anarchria to find shards of the Ruby Heart, an artifact that grants the owner 1 wish, with the trio intending on using it to bring their mother Yutaria back to life. As the trio continue their quest, Ataro, the blue one, slowly becomes more murderous and cold, with her love increasing every time her sister Jamie, the red one, was put in some sort of danger. As the trio near the end of their quest, Sans stands before them, believing that Ataro has reached a point where instead of wishing for her mother's revival, she'd wish for the destruction of the world. RPG Arc Sans looks like your regular old Sans, but with a more serious look on his face, which makes sense. His people were already free and at peace, and if someone's gonna try and ruin how far they've come, it makes sense that he'd lock in. He also has the ability to summon a red bone attack that reduces the max HP of whoever it hits. Honestly, although Sans AUs are interesting to talk about, I think I might want to start going into the different AUs instead of focusing purely on Sans, because the world UT created is super interesting. Leave a comment if you'd like to see videos of purely the AUs instead of just Sans. Spectrum Sans is a Sans variant that lives in a timeline where Frisk already completed the genocide run 1,000 times, and after his 1,000th death, Sans is transported into a different dimension where a being known as Spectrum waits for him. After appearing before him, Spectrum offers Sans a second chance at life, along with the opportunity to not only never be trapped in a reset ever again, but to make him even more powerful, on the condition that he works for Spectrum as an observer to monitor the multiverse. A power-up in exchange for employment? Sounds like a good deal, honestly. Anyways, obviously, Sans accepts, causing Spectrum to merge himself into Sans' soul, giving him a snazzy new look along with power to rival gods. After gaining this new power, Spectrum Sans steps in just in time to save Asgore from the human, killing them and destroying their save points and reset button. He ends up taking their soul and uses it along with the other 6 to bring back every monster that was killed by Frisk before leaving with Spectrum to monitor the multiverse. Spectrum Sans dons a long white jacket with gray fur around it, a dark gray shirt and dark gray pants, black and white shoes, and a massive crack on his skull, which was caused by him overexerting himself while using Spectrum's power against Frisk. In combat, Spectrum Sans has all of Classic Sans' powers, with the strength of them being 1,000 times stronger than usual. He seemingly has infinite energy and can fuse with Spectrum to achieve a Limit Breaker form to absorb any kind of attack, allowing for him to adapt to his opponent's moves during a fight. He can also manipulate energy, creating weapons, monsters, and appendages with it. Despite his love for puns, Spectrum Sans is a lot more serious than Classic Sans, and because of his infinite energy, he is never lazy. Well, that's another Sans AU video that I finished. This one is way longer than my past handful ones, and that's because I kinda wanted to start making longer videos this year. Overall, I do think I want to end this series soon, but if you want to send me your AU, OC, or fanart submissions, email me with the Gmail address that I've added at the start of the video and in the comments. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.